Hi folks, and welcome to this video. My name is Max and this is my YouTube channel Max Railroad. Several years ago my parents announced that we would be moving to a new house, and in protest I decided it was time to run away and join the circus. However, to keep me appeased, my parents promised me a room at this new house where I would be able to build my own O-gauge layout, and I wouldn't need to share the room with the heating and cooling equipment like I was at the current house. Well, unlike most parental promises, they held true to their word, and 5 years later I have my own O-gauge layout that I'd like to share with you all today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this tour of my little world. Alright folks, here's a nice wide shot of the layout. I figured before we go in for a close look it might be good to go over some of the basic stats and facts on the layout. So, in total the layout is 18 feet by 9 feet with a small 4 by 2.25 foot extension in the left hand corner, making the total square footage 171 square feet. The layout uses Lionel's fast track system and employs 2 fully independent loops. Each loop uses a mix of 072 and 084 turns. The layout is controlled using Lionel's legacy system, along with MTH's digital command system. At a rough estimate, the layout is about 80% complete. When we go in for a closer look, I'll show you guys what is done and what still needs to be done. Another thing to note before we move on is that there is another layout underneath of the main platform. When I built the layout originally, I intended on having a subway underneath of the main platform. However, I've since scrapped that idea, and I've just been using this little platform here as a shelf. Now, I do want to put a conventional loop on here at some point, but that project's way down the line. Over here is what I consider the heart of the layout. On the left, you can see what powers the layout, which is 4 Lionel 180 watt powerhouse bricks. In the middle, we've got the Lionel legacy control system, and then to the right of the legacy control system, we have a transformer which controls the conventionally powered trolley loop that runs through the center of the layout. Moving over, we also have my iPad, which I use to control my MTH trains, and then to the right of the iPad is the MTH YIU, the Wi-Fi interface, which allows me to use my iPad to control the trains. Under all of that good stuff, on this little shelf down here, we have a bunch of transformers that control accessories around the layout. And also we have my MTH track interface unit, which allows the legacy to work in tandem with the MTH DCS, and also gives the ability for me to run DCS on the layout. Here's a quick once-over of the actual room itself. As you can see, the walls are decorated with shelves that have the trains on them. These shelves are made by Glen Display Systems. They make the best shelves for displaying O-gauge trains on the market. Super great prices, and they're really nice people too. You can see their link on the screen right now, and it's also in the description below if you want to get some of these shelves for yourself. Moving below, I've got my little workbench right here. And moving over past the doors, we got some pictures all around, and we got some more pictures over here. And some more shelves. Right here's my toolbox. And then right there we've got a Lionel pub table and 2 bar stools. And then we're back at the layout. Well, seems like it's come time for us to take a close look at the layout, so let's go ahead and begin. Like I said, the layout has 2 fully independent loops, so we'll follow each loop around and I'll point out the key features on each loop as we do so, and then after that we'll go through the town and check out everything else the layout has to offer. So we'll start on the outer loop. Trains normally move to the right of the screen, so we'll move that way. So right there is the diamond with 4 Lionel 072 switches. That's where trains can change the loop. As you can see, the line continues down to that little industry, and we will teleport there now. Here the track splits. To the left is the main line, to the right is a small spur where I've got a little factory. This is an MTH warehouse building. It's nothing too fancy, but it's pretty cool. I like it. As you can see, I've got 2 boxcars parked in front, staging some sort of scene where, the guys over there at the warehouse are loading up the cars and getting ready to have them ship out for their next shipment of freight to be moved across the country. And then in front of the building, I've got some trucks. Here's the front of the warehouse. Like I said, I've got some trucks sitting in the garage bays. The first truck there, the Pennsylvania Railroad one, is from Lionel, super nice. And then the one behind it is a Menards panel truck, a little teal you can see peeking out there. And what's cool is that truck's actually lighted. I don't have it powered up right now, but eventually when I do, it'll be nice to have that little illumination going on. These trucks are not permanently in place, they still move around. I've been playing with the placement on them, but pretty soon they will have a permanent spot. Anyways, going back to the main line, you can see I've got a signal right there protecting the switch. Other than just being a little block signal, that is also a IR sensor for the crossing that we're going to take a look at in a second. That is made by Z-Stuff, and we'll talk about Z-Stuff some more later in the video. Continuing down the line, we see the first of many signals on my line. I said I'd talk about Z-Stuff later. Well, I guess later came kind of soon. So I use a lot of Z-Stuff accessories on my layout. Z-Stuff is probably one of my favorite manufacturers of O-gauge accessories just because they are so simple to wire up. I'm not the best with wiring, but Z-Stuff makes it super easy to wire up crossing signals and their trackside signals and everything. So if you're not that great with wiring, get Z-Stuff, it's perfect. This is a Z-Stuff semaphore, it works really well, it looks super cool too. And then also behind that I've got a Z-Stuff wigwag crossing that was tripped by that signal that I showed you guys a few seconds ago, and it works really well too. You'll see these guys in action later in the video when we run some trains. Anyways, moving past those signals, you can see there's a switch hidden behind that little crossing, and the main line diverges into a siding and a main. So we'll check that out in a second. Also, one other thing, there is a Cherry Hill crossing hut right here. Pretty neat little thing. And then behind it I got some deers. Continuing down the main line, here on the left we have the main and on the right is the siding. Generally when I'm running trains I'll have a longer train parked on the siding and then a shorter one running on the main, and I'll swap the two out every couple minutes or so just to keep things interesting. In the middle of the two main lines here I've got a Lionel TMCC direct lock-on. This is pretty much where the power from the 180 watt brick goes into a motherboard so that there's a TMCC signal emitted around the layout so the legacy engines can pick up, and also so power can be directly fed into the track. Continuing down the line, you can see the track curves off, and then we've got a nice straightaway, so we'll take a look at that now. Continuing down the back stretch of track, you can see the line curves, and then follows this nice straightaway right here. Nothing too exciting going on. A little scenery sprinkled in here and there, but it's pretty much just some plain track. One thing to note right here, hidden behind a bunch of trees, I've got a little Lionel hobo camp. This is a neat little accessory. It's got a red flickering light to make it look like there's a fire going on. It'd be cool to add a smoke unit to it to make it look like there's some smoke coming out of the campfire. But yeah, that's a nice little accessory. Not the most realistic, but it's fun. Now, for those wondering, yes, I am walking on the layout right now. Look at that, it's my feet. When I built the layout, I didn't really have a spot for an access portal or anything, so I just made sure the bench work would be strong enough to support my weight. And one of the benefits of Fast Track is that Fast Track is very durable, so I can walk on the track and I can walk on the roads to get around if there's a derailment or if I need to do some scenery work. Being able to walk on the layout is my motivation for not getting fat. Or old, I guess. Coming around to this bend in the track right here, you can see the track curves, and right here we've got two signals protecting where the siding rejoins the main line. Now in this spot right here it might look pretty barren, and that's because it is. I have eventual plans to put a mountain right back in that little triangle right here, and then also to make it look like the railroad's dynamited through a rock face to put this line down, and there's going to be some more rocks right here in between the two tracks just to add some texture, some 3D element to this area of the layout. There used to be some wind turbines here and a really poorly made mountain, but those have since gone away, and hopefully better things are on the way. Continuing past the signals, and yes, those are made by Z-Stuff as well, the main line is rejoined with the siding. Now, note that the siding does continue, so let's follow that line and see where the siding goes. Crosses the road right here. And look at that, it's the coal plant. Let's take a look at the coal plant. Alright, so one thing to note about the coal plant, if you follow this road right here, you'll see we've got a building flat against the wall. This is meant to be the office of some sorts for the coal plant. It's a really nice building flat made by PTF Designs. My buddy Nick runs that account on YouTube, and he makes really nice building flats. If you need any building flats for your layout at all, go to Nick. He makes the best stuff on the market, trust me. Looking at the coal plant itself, the key feature of it is the Menards American Power and Light Building. Another product I will endorse is anything made by Menards. Menards makes really good accessories for really good prices. They aren't the most realistic, but for those who are going for a layout that's more fun than, you know, everything is 100% true to scale and realistic, Menards is definitely the way to go. So I've got 3 tracks in the yard around the coal plant, and I've got some NW coal cars parked in there, as you can see. And I think it looks pretty cool. You've got a lot of coal on the ground, as you can see. The rails are kind of hidden by it. It makes it look really nice. I like it a lot. And then right there in front of the building, we've got a little gravel road where I've got some more Menards trucks. There's a lighted stake truck, just like the one at the warehouse building we saw a few minutes ago, and then some dump trucks that I weathered a little bit. One more thing about the coal plant, you might be noticing that the fake coal that I have sprinkled around is shining. Well, that's because it's not actually fake coal. This is real anthracite coal that is sold by Brennan's Model Railroading. And also, Brennan's Model Railroading is the same company that makes the ballast on my layout. I've been doing a lot of endorsements in the past couple of minutes, but Brennan's Model Railroading is your go-to site for any scenery stuff. They make the best ballast, they make the best coal, the best types of ground cover. It's all phenomenal. Huge fan of Brennan's Model Railroading. They make really, really great stuff. It's not the cheapest, but you're paying for quality. Like Brennan always says whenever I see him in person, you know, no one bats an eye paying $400+ for an engine. So if you want your layout to look good, you should pay the same amount for ballast. Well, not the same amount, but you guys see what I mean. It's really good stuff, and you're paying for what you get. It's high quality. Alright, hopping back onto the main line, we've got the switch right there where the siding rejoins the main line, and then we've got another railroad crossing. And then, as you can see right there, we've got another signal, which is the sensor signal that we saw a few minutes ago, same type. So you know what that means, we've got another railroad crossing. Look at that, right here. This is another gate system made by Z Stuff. These are really nice crossing gates. They work really well. They've got a bell built in, super good looking stuff. Works very reliably too. Now, also right here next to the tracks, I've got a MTH gate tower. So back in the days before electricity was a thing, a lot of railroads built these next to crossings, so when a train was coming, a man would climb on down and then flag the crossing by hand to make sure no cars got in harm's way. Once electricity was invented and crossing signals became automated, they were rendered obsolete, but many railroads left them standing. And I've just kind of represented that. This one's probably decommissioned considering that there's automated signals right here, but the structure is still standing in case it is needed for any such purpose. Now this scene right here, I was inspired by a photograph from the famous O. Winston Link. So if you look at it from this angle, you can kind of see what I'm going for. I've got the actual picture that inspired me on screen right now. It's just a nice little thing that I did. I'm a big fan of O. Winston Link and his photographs. As an aspiring photographer, it's just kind of cool to represent something like that on my layout. Continuing on, the road will hop in between both loops of track right here, and as you can see, I've got a little Amshack style train station, and then moving further down the line, I've got a wonderfully detailed Atlas station building. The effect I was going for here is to kind of have this dual modeling experience where I've got, you know, a more traditional and nicer style of station back from the glory days of the steam era right there, and then also I've got a more contemporary modeling opportunity where there's a really nice station building, but it's fallen to the test of time, and a more modern Amshack has been built in its place, and the station is now just a relic of what it once was and is slowly rotting away. Which is the sad reality of a lot of stations, just like Tyrone, Pennsylvania. As you can see on your screen right now, that is what I was trying to model. Anyways, just something cool I tried to do with the layout. Continuing down the line, we've got another Z-Stuff signal. This is the Norfolk and Western style CPL, color position light. And then, moving beyond the station building, we're back at the diamond. We've made a full circle. Now let's move on to the inner loop. Alright folks, let's go ahead and cross the diamond and move on to the inner loop. So, you probably noticed this when we were walking around the outer loop, that there is a catenary system running over the inner loop. So let's go ahead and address that before we go any further. So for those unfamiliar, a catenary system is pretty much just a system of wires that runs over top of train tracks for electric trains to draw power from for using pantographs. You probably have seen these on Amtrak's Northeast Corridor with their famous Acela train sets, or going back further with the Pennsylvania Railroad and their GG1s. When I built my layout originally, it was my intention to try and represent the world around me as closely as possible in the world of O-scale. And given that I live just outside of Philadelphia, there's a lot of electric trains around me, what with SEPTA's several regional railroads and the Amtrak Northeast Corridor, and also Amtrak's Keystone Corridor. So I went ahead and built a catenary system. It certainly wasn't easy. It took a lot of time and a lot of patience, but I'm really happy I did it. It goes further just to make my layout more fun for me, and also it makes it more unique, because you really don't see these in O-scale all too often. Now, the catenary system is not powered, it's just cosmetic. I figured I wouldn't go through the trouble of having it give electricity, just because I think I only have 1 or 2 trains that would actually be able to accept power from the wires, and it just seemed like a lot more complications that didn't really need to be there. But overall, I'm really happy I had the catenary system. There were definitely some times when I was building the catenary system that I, questioned myself, is this really worth it? But I'm really happy that Past Max stuck with it and decided to stick the project out, because it's been a lot of fun to play with. I just recently officially cut the ribbon on it, declaring it finished, and I posted a video about that on my YouTube channel where I ran a bunch of my electric trains using the catenary system, so feel free to check that out on my YouTube channel. It's a very recent video, so just go over to the channel page and you should see it there, no problem. Continuing down the line, you see we've got a switch right there, and that switch goes into the engine terminal and the freight yard, but we'll come back to that in a few minutes to take a look. Looking just beyond the track though, we've got an optical sensor, and that optical sensor is for the railroad crossing we're about to see. And here's that railroad crossing. For this one, I actually didn't use Z-Stuff signals, which is kind of rare for me. I used some MTH ones that I took over from the previous layout I had at my old house, which was really nothing fancy, just like a 4x8 sheet of plywood that I had some accessories on top of. And then also I paved over it, and I used these little wood platforms to give the illusion of like an older crossing. I think it looks really nice. Anyways, next to the crossing, we've also got another signal from Z-Stuff. That is a Pennsylvania Railroad 7 light position light style signal. Looks super nice, works really well. And then the track rounds up, following the loop we already showed, and continues through the town. Once again, I am back up on the layout, and we'll keep on following the line. The track crosses this crossing right here. Now, one thing to note, there are no gates on this crossing just yet. There will be eventually. It's very important to always use protection at every grade crossing, and just in life in general. So I'll be sure to add some protection to this crossing pretty soon, but for now, it is totally open, which is fine because there's no cars on the road anyways. Continuing on, the line curves around, and we've got another Z-Stuff signal behind this building right here, so let's go down and take a look at that. Here we've got a Z-Stuff double searchlight signal, and then behind that is a switch, and then we've got a little MTH yard tower accessory, just a nice little touch I have here. Continuing past that switch, this is the big passenger terminal on my layout. I've got some REA cars parked there, 2 Pennsylvania Railroad R50B cars, and a Lionel B60 style baggage car in REA paint. But anyways, this is the main station terminal where passenger trains will come and, take people to their next destination or drop people off when they're arriving here. We'll take a look at the building itself in just a second. So we're now on the other side of the terminal I was just talking about, and you can see here's the main line on the far right, under the catenary wires. I have eventual plans to add a catenary wire over the station track where the REA cars are staged right now, but unfortunately it'll take some time because I need to find the wires to do that since they are very hard to come by. But anyways, next to the station on the left, we've got 2 passenger trains, the Norfolk and Western 611 and the Pennsylvania Railroad 1361. These are just 2 passenger trains I have staged here that live on the layout just to add a little character to it, and plus if I want to run a train quickly, I can just yank these out of the storage tracks. It's meant to be like these trains are stored here and ready. This is one of the, I kind of call it a yard, but it's not really a yard, it's more just like a passenger staging area. But this is one of the 2 yards on the layout. But anyways, so if we keep following these tracks, you'll see that there's a little crossing here for people to come from the station to the platforms itself, and then these 2 tracks join together and then join the main line again right here. Going back, we've got the station right down there. So in my mind, passengers can drive up on this little lot right here, go into the station, buy their tickets, and then walk out, and then wait for the train to show up here. We'll talk more about the town and the trolley loop that you can see next to the station there in just a few minutes, but for now we'll continue with the main line. So you can see that after the line rejoins, I've got another one of those TMCC lock-on buildings right there for one of the 4 bricks that powers the layout, and then another Z-Stuff Pennsylvania Railroad position light style signal. And then continuing on, there's another signal right back there behind the little chimney of the station building. That is the isolating or infrared sensor for the wigwag crossing signal that we're about to cross over. And here we are back at the crossing that we just looked at a few minutes ago. You can see the passenger line loops around and then crosses the tracks. And then if we continue on, we've got another Pennsylvania Railroad style position light signal right there. You can see it through the mess of catenary poles and wires. And then the line branches off where we have another switch to the engine terminal and the freight yard. And then we're back at the diamond. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the freight terminal and engine facilities. Alright folks, here's a nice wide shot of the engine terminal and the freight yard. So there are 2 tracks for the engine terminal, and inside the engine terminal we've got 2 coal towers, a sand tower, a small engine house, and a waterspout, and then behind that we have 2 tracks for freight train storage, and then 1 track in the back for a switcher. So let's go ahead and take a close look at each track. Alright, here on track 1 of the engine terminal, we've got the first of 2 coaling towers. This one is made by Plasticville. It's not the most realistic, but I think it looks pretty cool. It looks nice next to the engine house that we'll take a look at in just a minute. This one is meant to give coal to trains on the main line who need to make a quick stop to refuel a little bit before continuing on with their journey. It's really nice. I have eventual plans to weather it, and I also added a light inside of it. And it's a very cool addition to the art. I've added some coal sprinkled around the base to make it look like there's a little bit of spill, just, that's accumulated over time. And I think it looks pretty good. Continuing on, right behind the Norfolk and Western Class A, we've got the waterspout. That's made by MTH, or water column, that's what it's called. Super cool little accessory. These are really nicely done. MTH did a great job on these, and I'd really like to add more of them to my layout, just sprinkle them around in the future. And then behind that, we've got what I think is probably one of the coolest accessories I have. This is a Lionel coaling tower. It's super realistic looking, looks just like the ones that you'd see on the NNW line. I think it looks really phenomenal. It's got so many details, the lighting on it is really fantastic. This one is meant to give coal to engines who are in the engine terminal getting ready for the day's duties ahead of them. So I've got it positioned so that an engine who is going to get coal can then go and get water and then get sand. And we'll now take a look at the second track. So looking at the second track, we've got the coal tower that's going over the first track. Gives coal to engines on the second track. And you can see we've got a Penske L2 steam engine staged right there. So anyways, continuing on, right here we have the sand tower. This is a Lionel accessory that was custom painted by my girlfriend, actually. She did a wonderful job. Looks a lot more, I wouldn't say realistic, it just looks a lot nicer than the original aluminum color that it comes in. It just gives it more character, I think, and it looks more fitting with the rest of the engine terminal. Continuing on, right behind this coal tower, we've got a MTH single stall engine house. Inside of it, I've got a Lionel Pennsylvania 210-4J1. It looks really cool. It's a nice building. It's actually really fun to let a steam engine run inside of there for a couple minutes and then just, pull it out nice and slow, and all the smoke will just plume around it. It looks super cool. And I'll show you guys on the other side of it. You can see that it says Pennsylvania Railroad. So you can see here that on either side of the engine house it has this little Pennsylvania Railroad inscription, and then the second track ends right here. Now this is the one spot of the layout that uses MTH real tracks. Because this building is a bit old, it wasn't designed to be compatible with Lionel Fast Track, so I actually had to use a transition piece to use real tracks inside of the engine terminal. Not a big deal, it doesn't look that noticeable to me, and if it does, I don't really care too much. It still looks super nice. And then going beyond that, you can see I've got a little Lionel yard tower building. This looked really toy-like when I got it, so I weathered it with some chalks, to just, give it a little grimy effect, and it looks really nice now. It fits really well with the rest of the engine terminal, and I'm happy with it. Alright, let's talk about the 2 freight tracks now. Alright, we're looking back at the 2 freight tracks right now. I've got a small coal train staged on one, and then a little mixed freight staged on the other. There's nothing really too special about these tracks. They hold about, give or take, 8 cars in each of them. They have 036 curves. This is the only area of the layout other than the trolley loop that uses them. But yeah, they look really nice. It's cool to have this little effect here, and it adds a lot of playability to the layout. So, for example, looking over one more track, I've got a little storage track for a switcher. I could pull that switcher out, have it couple up to one of the freight cars, or one of the strings of freight cars, bring it out onto the main line, pull an engine out from the engine terminal, hook it up, and let it rip. It's a nice little feature I have on the layout just to make things a little bit more interesting for me. Because I love doing little yard operations like that, even if I have to have the hand of God, which is a modeling expression for my own hands, go in and fix things sometimes because, well, as we all know, sometimes trains and yards don't like to cooperate with us, and freight cars will derail every now and then. But still, it's a lot of fun. Alright folks, that just about covers all of the main lines on the layout, so now let's go ahead and talk about the roads. And we'll follow the roads and just cover any details I missed, and then we'll talk about the trolley line too. So, on the left here, we've got a tunnel portal. Makes it look like the road just, goes into some imaginary tunnel. There's some cardboard back there too that's just painted black to give the illusion of some sort of tunnel that continues on for a while. The road comes out and passes by the coal plant. You see the gravel road that goes up to it that we talked about a little while ago. There's a small Lionel fuel tank accessory there, and also a Woodland Scenics work hut accessory. Just a few more little touches in there, just to give the layout some more element to it. The road crosses the tracks here at this crossing, and then crosses the next set of tracks, as we talked about a little while ago. There's the section of road that comes out to the 2 stations that we already looked at, so now let's go ahead and follow the rest of the road into the town. So after crossing the track, the road comes by this little post office accessory, which is made by Woodland Scenics in their ready-to-play line. Very nicely done building. And then also on the other side of that, we've got this little park here, made up of some Lionel accessories and also a lot of Woodland Scenics materials. Very nice looking scene, I think. And then after that, the road continues forward. There's a little branch off here that goes to the Trolley Barn, which we'll take a look at in a second when we get to the trolley line. And then it rejoins the main street. Eventually I'm going to put a traffic light where those stones are, give it the illusion of some traffic being signaled, but for now the road is again unprotected, which is okay because there's no cars out there. So we're now here on Main Street. We've got the road crossing this crossing right here, and again, like I mentioned earlier, there's no gates on this crossing, and also this road seems to need a little work, but anyways, it's there for now. The road continues and then comes through the big town portion of the layout. So if I go ahead and just crouch down a little bit, you can see here. Behind the post office, we've got a little water tower, and then we've also got a station for the trolley line. This is the end of the line, so to speak. That building right there is made by Menards, one of the many accessories I have on my layout from them. Very nice little building. It fits perfectly for what I wanted here. Continuing on, we've got another Menards building on the other side of the road. This is the Watkins Glen city block building. Very nice little building. We've also got this American flag accessory, which is lighted from Lionel. Main Street also branches off right here, and then going back this road, there is the Lionel Bluetooth radio tower, which is just a speaker that looks like a Bluetooth tower, or a speaker that looks like a radio station. A really cool little accessory. And then, looking at the town from this angle, you can get a nice side view of the J.R. Watkins building from Menards, and then next to that we have a Lionel Midtown Models hobby shop. Now this is definitely my favorite building on the whole layout, and for the sole reason that the trains inside of this hobby shop actually move. It's a really, really cool accessory. Lionel did a superb job with this thing. It's just really fun to have this running on the layout and have people down here, and they do a once-over of the layout and they double take as they see things moving inside this building. It's a really cool little feature that this thing has. Behind this, we've got that street that I showed you a few seconds ago with the skyscrapers on them from Menards. So the first thing is the PRR World Headquarters. This is a really cool building. Again, not the most realistic thing, but it looks really nice. I tried to go for the aesthetic of 3 different environments with this town scene, all like closely mashed together. So, you know, we've got like the little small town here with the post office and the playground, and we've got like a more suburban town with this office building, and then the larger hobby shop, and then behind that we've got a city skyline with the 3 big skyscrapers here. Next to the headquarters is the the Hotel York Royale, another building from Menards, very nicely done. And then next to that we've got a headquarters from a manufacturer who I can't think of. This is General Electric's building. It didn't come with a General Electric sign on top, I added that myself. I also customized the building a few other ways, but I think it looks really cool. A good little addition. Next to that we've got 2 MTH buildings, Neil's New and Used Guitars. I needed to have a music shop on the layout because other than trains, music is my big thing, so it's cool to have that little adage to my other hobbies on the layout. And then next to that we've got Walk This Way Chinese restaurant. I just think that's hilarious, I love the pun. Also the neon sign in there lights up. It's so amazing that guy fell over and fainted after he saw it. I probably should fix that. In this big open space right here, I've got a construction scene featuring 2 animated accessories, also from K-Line. In this scene right here, the front end loader pushes forward and then moves back, and then the dump truck right over there will move backwards and forwards and then also dump its load. Very cool. I've got a little gravel road going to both of them and added some rocks and some other accessories around just to make it look a little more realistic. Again, this isn't the most realistic scene, but it's fun, and that's what I care about more. Back behind that trolley, we've got the Rosie's Roadside Diner, which is an old passenger car that was made into a diner. This accessory is really nice, and also it smokes, which, you know, gives it the nice homey feeling that there's some good meat being cooked in there, a nice smoker. And I actually generally use barbecue scented smoke fluid in it just to give it that extra little touch. Next to that we've got an Esso gas station, very cool looking accessory, very nifty 50s vibe to it. And then continuing on the road goes off to the station. In front of that we've got the train information board. This is an MTH accessory that actually moves. And I've got a little button down, where is it? There it is. Right there's a button. And when you press it, the trains flip back and forth. Next to that, we've got an Amtrak travel by train sign. It's not lighted or anything, it just looks nice. And then also next to the building, we've got crossing signals protecting the crossing right there. And then we've got a little switch tower from a manufacturer that I do not know. Anyways, after that, the road just kind of ends right there. Now, I know it's not optimal how it looks, but my eventual plan is to build a bridge that goes over all 4 tracks right here, the trolley line, the passenger line, or the inner loop, and then the 2 outer loop tracks. And that bridge will just go off into the wall right there and just look like it goes somewhere. That bridge is probably going to be one of the last things I do on the layout, but I'm looking forward to starting that project this summer. One last note, the trolley line right here loops around and then does a nice U-turn and circles into the station right here. So in my mind at least, what happens is a person will come off of the passenger train, walk over to the trolley tracks, hop on board the trolley, take a ride into town, get off down there, and boom, they're where they need to go. It's a very cool looking scene, and it's nice having this little atmosphere of a nice hometown feeling. At least that's how I think of it. Well folks, that just about brings an end to our tour. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I will do my best to answer them. Additionally, if you liked any of the products that you saw in the video that I made a special note to highlight, you can check out the links to their respective websites in the description below. To the owners of the companies who I shouted out, please feel free to send me any free products to continue receiving these shoutouts. For those who enjoyed the video and want to see more content from me and about this layout in general, feel free to subscribe to the channel and also check out my social media, Facebook and Instagram. I post a lot of updates there and also a few just running clips every now and then, and also some real train photos, so check them out. The links are in the description. And last but not least, I have a blog. It's pretty cool, Behind the Throttle. Check it out. Well folks, that's just about the end of the video now. I think I'm going to go ahead and run some trains, and stay tuned for more content in the coming weeks. Everyone stay safe out there. Remember to social distance if you go outside, and have a good day. My name is Max Railroad, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.